What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Steve Nostentoski here for Mason Brew and Linguist. He's gone. 108 days as the co-defense coordinator for Michigan, announced as the head coach of Buffalo. What is going on? The initial reaction is, how could he, right? In the middle of spring practice. Part of his contract stated no contract buyout in his first 2 years at Michigan if he takes a job as a head coach or a coordinator position at a school outside of the Big Ten East. Obviously, Buffalo, one of the premier MAC programs. You would think maybe sure after a year or two he would go ahead and do that, take a position at a group of five or a similar coordinator position. You don't expect that for 4 months after getting hired if you're Michigan. So that contract clause, I can understand that. Just a bummer it happened this early. So what do we do? What's the reaction? What's the next steps? Let's dive into it here. So there's two ways you can take this. Number one, the reasonable take, Buffalo, a solid MAC program, right? Probably one of the best group of five jobs that could open up. Linguist had a chance to go be there as a head coach after he was there prior in his career in a lower position. So those chances don't come often. To go to a program you have experience at already to be a head coach right away. That's a reasonable take, all right? Pessimistic take is Linguist thought his resume would look worse after this season with Michigan than it does at this point. Taking a head coach job now might not be possible if this Michigan season goes poorly, okay? That's a pessimistic take. You could argue that. My thought is it's a head coach job. Right? Head coach job. He would have to get started in the group of five more than likely, regardless of how well or how poorly the 2021 season went. So taking that spot, like I said, it's a solid landing spot. The most depressing thing about it for me is if Michigan didn't hire well for the co-defensive coordinator position, they wouldn't be in the position they are today. What I mean by that is a guy getting hired away as a head coach often means that, hey, that guy's pretty capable, right? That guy's a good coach if he gets hired away from your program. The bummer is just, if you didn't make as good of a hire, it wouldn't put your program in limbo in the middle of May, in the middle of spring practice. So that's backwards, right? It punishes Michigan for making a good hire because of the ability of him to leave for a program right now. And it's just rare. How often do head coach jobs come open in May? Michigan got burned. It's more of a bummer than an indictment on Michigan's program. So that's kind of where I'm at there. What does it mean moving forward, okay? First of all, I don't think it's going to affect on-field performance, okay? If anything, watch the cornerbacks, asking me the position group to really dive in on, look at for their performance this upcoming season. You could argue that. But I think Linguist was brought in mainly as a defensive recruitment lead. We saw him do extremely well on the recruiting trail, immediate impact hire there for that aspect of the program. But Mike McDonald was kind of the co-defensive coordinator for schematics side of the defense. That's my opinion. I think that's exactly where Michigan is headed. So you definitely have to find a replacement. I'll get to names in a bit, but you have to do it quickly, very fast. The longer you wait, the more these recruits can hear from other programs, the more that things are in limbo, less time for a new coach to connect to recruits ahead of the season, right? At some point, they have to focus more on the season than they can recruiting. The longer you wait before making that hire, the less time there is available to do so. So speed is the key, right? Guys like Will Johnson, five-star cornerback commit of the 2022 class, former legacy guy, really good connection with Linguist. Can't let him sit around and question what's going on here. You got to get that going. Same with four-star athlete Cody Jones, another commit that had a really close connection with the Linguist. The quicker you end that sort of limbo scenario, the better for those recruits hanging on to their commitment. All right, so some names. Steve Clinkscale. He's a DB's coach and defensive pass game coordinator at Kentucky. Been there since 2016. Has a track record of recruiting talent away from Michigan, Oak Park specifically. That program, a four-star defensive tackle, Justin Rogers, a few years ago. Going back, Marquand McCall, offensive guard out of Oak Park. Both were 4 stars. So these sort of inroads, he has ties with Midwest recruiting, could be a really good fit. He has both defensive back coaching and co-defensive coordinator position in his resume. So that would be a really good fit. He's a name who's been brought up a bunch even before Linguist was brought on. So that could be a scenario. Another one is Corey Robinson. This was brought up by Sam Webb. Saints defensive backs coach, defensive pass game coordinator as well, and DB's coach at Maryland back in 2019. So similar position at Rutgers. So he has kind of East Coast there, coached at Temple, Toledo as cornerbacks coach before that. So that could be another name, a guy with NFL pedigree, very similar to Linguist. Carry on that sort of approach with that position. And then finally, Doug Mallory. This is a guy who's been on an analyst role for the Wolverines for the past few months. DB coach, could pair him up with Mike McDonald, elevate his role a little bit. He's been around the coaching realms for a long, long time. He's been on the Atlanta Falcons staff since 2015. So again, bringing in a guy with NFL experience could help you in recruiting. Has to be a strong recruiter, whoever you're bringing in, right? They have to work well with Mike McDonald, so that's a connection you really have to drive home as well. So between those three guys, Clinkscale is probably the name that makes the most sense if you want a guy who's been recently in a college game. If you're looking for a similar NFL production, kick the tires on Robinson. I think Doug Mallory would be kind of a last step, right? It's hard to hire these guys. So you're going to have to throw a bunch of money at guys at other programs. Otherwise, fall back on Mallory because he's already in the program. Just elevate him for a year and then regroup after the season and go from there. So that's kind of my thoughts on the situation. It sucks, right? But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. What do you think Michigan should do? Leave a like if you like the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Beyond that, thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Stay safe out there. As always, go Blue.